Hi everyone, welcome back. This is DeRollo Nixon from Nixon Disability Law, coming to you again as part of our Veterans Month campaign, where we're bringing important trivia, news, facts, and helpful tips for veterans and about veterans. Now, this week, we had Veterans Day. I hope you had a wonderful Veterans Day and got to thank veterans for the great impact they make in our community. In today's episode, we're going to talk about the largest war in human history. We're going to talk about the conflict that produced more U.S. veterans than every other conflict combined, easily. The delta is millions of service members, okay? I'm talking about World War II. So, World War II began in September of 1939 and ended in August of 1945. And as you may be aware, the U.S. involvement began in December of 1941 with the bombing of Pearl Harbor and Congress's response to that, and ended on August 15, 1945, okay? This was the largest conflict in human history to our knowledge, okay? The total number of deaths during the Second World War ranges between 40 and 80 million people. The country that led in terms of deaths was the Soviet Union, that had somewhere between 11 and 13 million people die, soldiers, civilians, etc. This is horrendous, okay? The cost to the United States in prosecuting that war for our limited portion, because remember, even though the war began in September of 1939, we did not enter until December of 1941, and effectively we weren't really fighting on the ground until 1942, right? It still cost us then $341 billion. And what does that add up to today? Well, in 2023 dollars, that cost was $5.8 trillion. Exactly. Cannot think of anything else we've done that cost nearly that much, okay? Now, how many U.S. service members were there? There were more than 16 million U.S. service members worldwide. Now, we know this is called World War II, and yes, the First World War, which used to be called the Great War, was certainly a world war. That was dwarfed by World War II, okay? World War II saw fighting on every single continent, including North America, whether you're aware of it or not, and not just the incident in Pearl Harbor. There are other incidents, and if you Google it, you can find out, okay? Every continent was touched. In fact, my oldest boy, actually, I'm blessed to have some, children, my wife and I. My oldest boy has a book about the Japanese invasion of Alaska. And it's just like, I remember coming across that and saying, oh, I didn't know this happened. And then you read, you can't believe what you're reading. It's amazing. The Japanese actually invaded Alaska. And one of the things that the U.S. worked to do was keep the lid on that fact. But anyway, you can read about it now. So every continent was touched, okay? All of the seas, okay? And it saw, the use of technology during that war was incredible, okay? The advances in submarine warfare, in aircraft and missile technology, and of course, these culminated in the use of the only confirmed use in battle of nuclear weapons, with the two bombs being dropped in August on two cities in Japan, one of the last of which effectively ended the war after the Japanese surrendered. Anyway, this great conflict, again, more than 16 million veterans served, and the logistics, the organization is a colossal effort. General Eisenhower, who would go on, who was the Supreme Allied Commander, he would go on to become the United States President from 1952. He was elected in 1953 and he served from 1953 to the beginning of 1961, okay, when John F. Kennedy, a World War II veteran, took over. Anyway, General Eisenhower planned and spearheaded the largest invasion in human history, to our knowledge, okay? The D-Day invasion that took place on June 6, 1944. I've had the privilege of going to Normandy more than once, and I have been to the débarquement, okay, the place where those things happen. I believe I went to Utah Beach and Omaha Beach, but anyway. I also went to La Courme, which is a cemetery that's there in Normandy. It's a cemetery actually of German soldiers. It's quite fascinating. But yes, so biggest war in human history, most extensive, 40 to 80 million deaths, okay? $5.8 trillion spent and more than 16,112,000 U.S. service members involved all over the world. Thank you. So in our next part, what we're going to talk about is the transition to the home front. Because what do you do when you take 16 million, mostly men, out of civilian life, throw them into the military for several years, and they come back? Well, there are going to be deficits. There's going to be deficits in skills and knowledge. There's going to be deficits in terms of relationships and and certainly financial deficits. Well, this part of our series, we're talking about the relationship between Congress and vets, and Congress had a significant role in ensuring not only that veterans readjusted to civilian life, but literally worked to help create one of the largest commercial booms in U.S. history. Okay, economic booms in U.S. history. Okay, more on that next time. Thanks.